Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to start taking a look at the brand new Mattel Roarivores that have recently hit Walmarts all across America. These are the brand new Dino Rivals Roarivores, and they are basically all just repainted versions of previous dinosaurs that we already had. However, some still look really quite cool, and one of my favorites from the entire line was Ceratosaurus, so I decided to start with the Ceratosaurus with this new wave of Roarivores. As you can see, it looks pretty much the same as the other one as far as the sculpt. I don't think they've done anything as far as retooling it, which is a little upsetting, but I guess that's just the way it is. However, there is a very interesting looking new paint scheme, which I actually think here, looking at it in the box, looks very cool. A lot better than I expected it to look. So I'm going to go ahead, break this guy out of the box, and then we'll take a look at him. So initially, we'll take a look at the card. You can see that there's a very cool looking image there of the Ceratosaurus. Once again, I've said it about 1,000 times, I would have preferred some sort of images with them interacting with people and that kind of thing, like the old school Jurassic Park cards, but these are still better than nothing. And you can see Dino Rivals and Jurassic World on the back. And as with all of these Roarivores, the tail's disconnected, so you pop that in. It's going to give us a roar, and there, and he's not going to stand, there we go. There is the new Roarivore Ceratosaurus, and I already am actually quite sold. I don't know what it is about this figure, but I am just absolutely in love with this Ceratosaurus. I really have been a big fan of Ceratosaurus in the Jurassic Park franchise ever since it made an appearance in Jurassic Park 3. I absolutely loved that dinosaur. I've always been a big fan of Ceratosaurus, but specifically the version from Jurassic Park 3. I always really liked the sculpt and the overall appearance of it, so it is cool to get an alternate version here, a different styled paint job of that sculpt. I think the sculpt overall is perfect. I've actually reviewed this sculpt previously, as we have reviewed the initial Ceratosaurus here on the channel, but I have stated before that I think the sculpt of the Ceratosaurus is just beautiful and really faithful to what you do see in the film, so that is a huge plus as far as the way the Ceratosaurus is sculpted out. However, we are here to look at whatever is new, so let's get a close look and take a look at this paint job. So as we look at the head here, you can see that the horn is now an orange color, which is actually pretty much the same color that you see on the back here, but maybe a little bit brighter. So it does have an orangish color, and it's somehow, even though I think an orange horn is kind of far-fetched, somehow it does look really nice on the figure, and it just kind of appears natural. I don't understand how that they've done that, but it does look pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's not perfect. I would have preferred maybe a little bit more of a realistic color. However, it still isn't bad. It does actually have quite the nice gloss on it, you can see as I turn it there. So that kind of helps to bring the horn a little bit to life and really make it a little more realistic. Other than that, as far as the head goes, you can see that it's primarily this brownish coloration, and then you get a dark burnt umber brown all around the eye, which I think looks really nice. Take a look at this side, same deal. That dark burnt umberish brown kind of trails up into the palette a little bit there, but it is primarily around the eye, and then there's some hints of this orange kind of creeping in behind the head there. So it does have a little bit of orange on the head, but not too much. As I said previously, we have reviewed this figure before, so we're not going to actually review the sculpt or detail or anything like that. Take a look inside the mouth. You can see the tongue is painted very nicely. Even the inside of the mouth is painted quite nicely. I guess there's not really too much going on the upper side. It's just that primarily the same brown, but the skin flaps here on the side and the tongue have a very nice gloss to them. Very nice realistic coloration. There is actually a little bit of orange that somehow has gotten under the tongue of the Ceratosaurus. I don't know how that managed to happen, but it still looks pretty good, I think, aside from that little bit of sloppiness. That sloppiness of the orange getting on there actually kind of just gives it some tones of color in the tongue, which is something that you haven't really seen previously in the Jurassic toy line, so I guess accidentally they've done something that's sort of an improvement. Then as we lead down the neck, the whole body is primarily this brownish coloration, and then you start to get this kind of a dark orange up here on the top of the head or the back of the head, and then it runs down the neck and it kind of splotches all over the body and ends right around the hip region here, up here on the top of the back. I think it looks pretty nice. It's not bad. Definitely very appealing as far as the paint scheme goes, and it being a very nice dark coloration really looks quite natural, honestly, in my opinion. I definitely do like that. And then when you come down the leg here a little bit on the calf, you can see a few splotches of that orange here, and then it's the same deal on the other side, but then there's no paint otherwise. anywhere else. I would think that they should have put some paint on the tail, as I was really quite impressed with the recent Attack Pack figures and how they included some paint on some of the tails and everything. They didn't do that here with the Ceratosaurus, which I think is kind of a letdown. It would have looked a lot better if the paint would have run out the entire length of the tail, but it still does look really quite nice. If you are interested, here is the Jurassic Facts app to add this to your collection. As always, there is kind of that speckle deal going on. You can see some black spots here and there on the dinosaur. They're not too noticeable. I almost dropped them. They're not too noticeable because it is a very dark color to begin with, but you can pick up on them. Other than that, though, there's nothing new, no paint on the nails or anything, which is definitely upsetting, as Mattel really hates to paint the nails of their figures. But the teeth look pretty good, the head looks nice, everything in general looks good. I just wish there would have been a little more paint on the tail. But other than that, it looks pretty nice. As far as articulation goes on the dinosaur, of course you've got the articulated jaw, the arms, forward and back, out away from the body and down. Both arms do the same thing, and the legs go forward and back. They're actually a little stiff, and then out away from the body. It's all the same articulation the other Ceratosaurus had. Tail is on a swivel, so I don't think there's really anything new as far as the articulation goes. And honestly, as far as the sculpt goes, it all looks exactly the same. It is nice to see that Mattel has kind of followed through on resculpting some things with some dinosaurs like Delta, and then the upcoming Allosaurus has had quite a drastic resculpt going on. But as far as these new Roarivores, there's not really too much going on with the sculpts, just all the same basic sculpt we had previously, which is still really nice. It's a nice sculpt, but I'm hoping that in the future we don't just continue to repaint these figures, maybe resculpt them a little bit, even to put them in a different position would have been nice. But I guess for now this one's still pretty nice, still just looking the same, just with a new paint scheme. As far as the sounds and action feature, of course you've got a button up here that you press for the jaw to snap, and we'll hear the noises. They all sound like it's the same noises that we had previously with the Ceratosaurus, so unfortunately no updates as far as that goes. As far as a size goes on the Ceratosaurus, from the tail to the head, you're looking at just about 12¼ inches, so a little over a foot, or about 31, almost 31.5 centimeters in length. So it's definitely a very sizable figure. And then about 5 inches, or about 12.5 centimeters, almost 13 in height. For a size comparison, if you don't happen to own any of the previous Jurassic World Roarivores, there is the Tyrannosaurus Rex standing tall next to the Roarivore Ceratosaurus, and this should give you a good idea that these Roarivores are quite large figures, because the Rex is also a pretty darn big figure. But the Roarivores, like I said, are pretty good sized. These ones again are exactly the same as the previous ones, so if you do already own the Ceratosaurus, then you'll know exactly how big this Ceratosaurus is. So the new Ceratosaurus is quite nice. It's not as nice as the first one, I will definitely say that. I think the first one, having that very classic Jurassic Park 3 paint scheme, really helped to make me love that one a lot more. But this one is still pretty nice. I definitely like the paint scheme. I'm not positive what it's inspired from, if this was maybe a paint scheme in any of the Jurassic games or anything like that on a Ceratosaurus, or if this is just something completely new that Mattel just decided to think up. I still think it looks quite nice. I have said previously that I am a pretty big fan of orange on dinosaurs. For some reason, I really think it just works really well, kind of like yellow. It's something about those two colors I think is just very appealing on dinosaur figures, especially when it comes to the Jurassic line. But as I said, this one does still look really quite nice. I think the orange that's on the body is a very natural appearance as far as an orange goes, and as is the brown that you see that is the primary body color. I think the horn maybe is a little bit too bright of an orange, but they still have somehow made it look really good and make it look like it belongs as far as that color goes. Being a horn, orange isn't normally the color I would go with, but it does still somehow, like I said previously, look really good on the figure. I love the dark brown that is included on the face, around the eyes, and up into the palate. I kind of wish that they maybe would have included that a little more. Maybe like model that brown throughout the body here and then running it out onto the tail, but then maybe you could have ended the orange here if that's what they really wanted to do. I just feel like maybe that would have helped to give it a little more color variation and maybe make it look a little bit better, but it does still look really quite nice regardless. And I've stated numerous times I am a very big fan of the sculpt, so I don't really need to comment on that at all. As I said, very nice looking Ceratosaurus. Not the best and not the worst. It's definitely not as good as the original, but it is still really, really nice. So if you do want to buy this guy, I would suggest going ahead and throwing up an order on either Amazon or Entertainment Earth if you would like to order it online. Otherwise, you can just find it in store, as that's exactly what I did. I found this guy at Walmart. So go ahead, check your local Walmart or order from one of those two stores. I will include links in the description for you if you are interested. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.